Hi, I'm Frank. Frank Clayton, the happy therapist, and I want to share with you some of the science behind why positives are so effective. Because you might think, oh, just spending a few minutes a day uh, concentrating on why I should be grateful for something, like, how is that really going to help me? And so, I think if I tell you some of the science behind it, you might really come to appreciate it. So in positive psychology, they've discovered something that intuitively we probably already know, which is that when we're depressed and we're experiencing, in positive psychology they call it a downward spiral, and in the downward spiral it just feeds on itself and it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. So intuitively, I mean, anybody that struggled with depression or even sadness or being in a bad mood, we kind of already intuitively knew that, but it's kind of nice that science proved that. But what's even nicer is that science proved the exact opposite is true also. So we can experience a positive or an upward spiral. And so, and there's a saying in positive psychology, what we appreciate appreciates. So as things get better, it continues to feed on itself, but in the positive direction. So of course you're asking, Frank, how do I reverse the trajectory from going from a downward spiral into an upward spiral? And then, so take that and set that aside for a second. I want you to think of the concept of leverage, okay? If you have, let's say you have a big rock and you want to move the big rock, and so you're going to use leverage. Think of a teeter totter. So you have the plank, and then that thing in the middle is called a fulcrum. And so if you move that fulcrum close to the rock and you put the plank in the correct way, moving that rock is going to be really, really easy. But if you put the fulcrum in the wrong place, like let's say the way over on the other end of the plank, not only are you not going to be able to move the rock, you may not even be able to lift the opposing end of the plank. So, um, the one of the reasons that positives work so well is that concept of leverage, because you're putting exactly the amount of effort in exactly the place that you need it. As Americans, we put a lot of stock into big things. Um, because it's bigger, it's flashier, and so we say, well, we want to be happier, so we'll go after something big, like getting that promotion or retiring or having a child or something along those lines. And so so they found that it isn't so much the big things, because that'll be fleeting. It'll feel really good for a relatively short period of time. I could go into a whole thing about that. Um, but My cat just walked in and distracted me. You want to say hi? Hey, you want to say hi? He says hello, Mr. Face. So, yeah, get cuddles from your animals if you can. By the way. So anyway, so doing your positives, what it's doing is it's putting exactly the amount of effort in exactly the place where you need it the most. Because what it does is it changes your mindset from that downward spiral to an upward spiral. So, you are distracting me, aren't you? Um, So anyway, so Seligman, he had people who were severely depressed, and this is not just Seligman. This has been replicated over and over and over. So he had people who were depressed. He had them do this one exercise of doing their three positives each day, and in 15 days, they went from severely depressed up to moderately depressed, if not mildly depressed. And if you've ever struggled with depression, you know that that's nothing short of a miracle. Um, So, and by the way, it didn't have a 100% success rate. But it had about a 94% success rate. So really, really good. So, if you care about your happiness, please do this for yourself, but also do it for your family and even your kids. It builds a lot of resiliency, and it can help to strengthen and build relationships as well. Um, by the way, one last little tidbit: when one person becomes happier, there's again scientifically proven that it can affect up to 1,000 people that you don't even necessarily know. So by you becoming happier, I think of it almost like a community service, that by you being happier, the ripple effect that happens and goes out is tremendous. So there's the science behind the positives. I hope that you'll do that for yourself and your family. And yeah, stay healthy out there.